There was this hilarious interview. I think this UFC thing is in Sydney at the moment. I'm not sure. I don't really pay attention to UFC, but I've seen some really funny interviews from UFC, so it kind of makes me interested because the fighters are hilarious. And was it Dana White, the guy who runs UFC? He's really funny. Anyways, this guy is called Sean Strickland, and he's one of the fighters who's visiting Australia at the moment. And he did this hilarious interview and roasted this reporter. I thought it was great.
It must be talked about. You guys did throw a pregnant woman in jail over a Facebook post during COVID. That must be talked about. Shame on you guys. How do you feel about that?
Me personally?
Yeah, how do you feel about that?
Which woman was this?
It was all over the news, man. How do you not know that?
A pregnant woman has been charged with incitement after police raided her Ballarat home. The 28-year-old live-streamed her arrest on Facebook after allegedly encouraging friends to attend a lockdown protest.
Here's the thing, Australia.
Yeah, I remember when that happened. I was so pissed when I saw that. I was like, she's posting on Facebook. This is where that line about speech and action. Yeah, you need to clearly define, like, this lady is talking about lockdown protests and wasn't, inviting people to go or whatever. She hasn't committed a crime. She hasn't broken any law,
I would like you guys so much better if you had a freedom of speech. So if you could go ahead and make a freedom of speech like the greatest country in the world, we would get along better. I mean, how is that not standard with you guys? How do you not have a freedom of speech? You have a government could say, if you say something we don't like, we will throw you in prison. Like, how the fuck do you rationalize that?
Are you confusing us with Russia or something?
No, I'm not. I'm.
That reporter is such a butthole. Holy crap. What an arrogant response. Are you confusing us with Russia or something? Have you not been paying attention to anything that happened to your own citizens in your own country? Are you crazy? Like, how, like, if you're in journalism, you would have saw that story. It was on the news. Like, it was covered by quite a lot of outlets. And they painted her out to be a villain. Unsurprisingly for mainstream media. And to respond like, oh, are you confusing us with Russia or something? It's like, dude, this happened to your own people. You demonize these people. And then and a lot of these mainstream media reporters tried to justify her arrest, right? It was insanity. And to respond like this when someone's giving you a fair criticism of the behavior that you allowed the last few years, and you respond so arrogantly. My goodness.
Saying that there is a pregnant woman who was thrown in jail during COVID. I mean, who else? Do you guys remember that? Anybody else remember that? He fucking remembers that shit.
You're under arrest in relation to incitement.
Incitement?
Yeah.
What on earth? Excuse me, what on earth?
Just put your phone down.
Can you, like,
record
this? I'm in my pyjamas.
What's this?
I have an ultrasound in an hour.
Yeah, she's pregnant, so...
I'll take it easy.
What's this about?
But I have an ultrasound
Just let me
in
finish.
an hour.
Let me finish and I'll explain. It's in relation to a Facebook post, in relation to a lockdown protest you put on for Saturday.
Yeah, and I wasn't breaking any laws by doing that.
You are actually. You are breaking.
So here they go, you are breaking a law, because the amount of people who treated mandates like laws, literally everybody. I had an argument with a friend because they refused to listen. Well, I didn't really mean to turn it into an argument. They kind of started arguing with me for no reason and were being super unreasonable. I tried to explain to them mandates aren't laws. They haven't actually passed any laws that make it illegal to not, to protest or to speak out against, the mandates, or to refuse and say no to being locked in your own home, to being forced vaccinated, all that nonsense. Those aren't laws. They were very, very strong recommendations and like coercions into like tricking the public into thinking they were like laws, and then you could get in trouble if you didn't listen to Big Daddy government. So here, for that officer to claim that she broke a law is so wrong. I'm pretty sure they had a lawsuit or something in regards to this case. I'm not sure. I have to double check it. I haven't heard many updates from this lady's case. Yeah, but she's pregnant here, due for an ultrasound, and they just come in and arrest her for a Facebook post.
Well, that's why I'm arresting you in relation to
In
insult.
front
How
of
can
my
you
children,
arrest her?
In
That's-
front of my 2 children.
She urged people to attend an anti-lockdown protest in Ballarat this weekend.
I'm happy to
Otherwise-
delete the post. This is ridiculous.
That's right.
Yeah.
She could face a jail sentence of up to 15 years.
So, and again, I love Australia and I love the Australian people. But, you guys have done some fuckery, and so has America. But I think the moment Australia gets the freedom of speech, I'll like it more.
What an honest dude. What an honest dude. I like the way he puts things. Yeah, like I remember when that happened. Again, this happened in Victoria during the height of the lockdowns and stuff like that. I remember watching that video the first time, and it made me really extremely distressed. The behavior of those police, the reasons they were giving her, which were nonsense made up reasons to arrest somebody who hasn't committed a crime. I felt really distressed because I felt like my country was becoming like the CCP. Our government, our police, the people, the mentality of everybody here was so similar to the CCP, where, you know, they'll just come in and arrest you for whatever made up charges they want. It doesn't matter whether or not you broke the law. They'll justify it. They'll make up something, just like these cops made that up. And the severity of what she did, she posted on Facebook, and they were threatening to throw her in jail. The media was even like, you know, trying to suggest she might be in jail for 15 years for her Facebook post. Never mind the cybercrime, the crazy cybercrime bill that we have about like how police can take over your social media and post on your behalf. That in itself is such an egregious like law to have even been passed. But the fact that she was this poor pregnant woman, the amount of stress she would have been put through by that situation, these police did not care, you know, like they don't give a crap about your rights. They didn't give a crap about this lady's rights or even her condition. To put a pregnant woman, you know, like in such a stressful situation, you could have caused a miscarriage, you know, like that kind of stuff pregnant women need to be handled with care. And here you are just randomly arresting her for a Facebook post where she didn't threaten anybody. She wasn't inciting violence. She was just, you know, asking people to stand up for their rights, which in a free country, I could never imagine, you know, moving to Australia, you know, a long time ago. I never imagined that a so-called free country would do this to their own citizens. It breaks my heart. Sorry. It makes me really angry. I did not mean to cry on the stream, but you know, this was one of the reasons why I was so pissed about the lockdowns, because I saw this kind of stuff. I was trying to talk to people about it and nobody cared, you know, especially in my state, because we weren't Victoria. They just seemed very like insulated and like they didn't give a crap about what was happening in other states like Victoria or like WA and stuff. And it was like, these are your own countrymen. Like, if it can happen in that state, it can easily happen here. Why don't you care? You know, doesn't anybody care? It was like, I felt like I was the only normal person during that time. And everybody else just lost their minds, you know? It was crazy. Okay. We need a breather because, man, I did not mean to get upset at that. Sorry about that, guys. I'll try to I'll try to keep it calm and not get so agitated next time. All right, so the next story that I've got it's it comes from Fox News. Well, the source is Daily Wire, but it's Megyn Kelly from Fox News. She was expressing that she might have been COVID vaccine injured, and she was regretting getting the COVID vaccine. So I've got the article up here. So Megyn Kelly says she regrets getting COVID vax, opens up about autoimmune issue after booster. So she said after getting the COVID vaccine and additional booster shots, she recently tested positive for an autoimmune issue. Kelly had been long outspoken about her opposition to vaccine requirements for children, but she decided it would be best to get the shot herself. She said on Wednesday that she realized it was a mistake to get the COVID shots after talking to her doctor when she tested positive for an autoimmune issue at her annual physical. She said, quote, "I regret getting the vaccine, even though I am a 52-year-old woman, because I don't think that I needed it. I think I would have been fine. I've gotten COVID many times, and it was well past when the vaccine was doing what it was supposed to be doing." So she says the best rheumatologist in New York asked her, "Do you think this could have been related to the fact she got a booster and then got COVID within 3 weeks?" And her rheumatologist said yes. She said her rheumatologist said that she wasn't the only one she'd seen that with. Okay, so let me share.
I regret getting the vaccine, even though I'm a 52-year-old woman, because I don't think I needed it. I think I would have been fine. I'd got COVID many times, and it was well past when the vaccine was doing what it was supposed to be doing. And then for the first time, I tested positive for an autoimmune issue at my annual physical. And I went to the best rheumatologist in New York, and I asked her, do you think this could have to do with the fact that I got the damn booster and then got COVID within 3 weeks? And she said, yes. Yes, I wasn't the only one she'd seen that with.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure Fox News had a vaccine mandate, I think in 2021, 2022. I'm pretty sure that's why Tucker Carlson was working from home and had a studio at home that he was reporting from. So yeah, I feel bad for Megyn Kelly. Developing an autoimmune issue is not fun. It's very complicated. There's a lot of things that could go wrong, and it's such a broad variety of symptoms, people who develop those injuries. Yeah, I think it's kind of nuts, that they just experimented on people. There were no long-term safety studies done for these vaccines. I tried to tell people this before 2021, when they were pushing the Operation Warp Speed and stuff like that, and then they were just talking it up a lot. I was like, this doesn't make any scientific sense to do that. And it's super dodgy that you would push it on so many people and coerce them into taking it, threaten their jobs, threaten that they can't go out to a restaurant, to eat somewhere, to shop in certain places. People actually got turned away. I've been turned away from many places for not doing the masks, not doing freaking vaccine mandates, none of that nonsense, because I know it was a lie. I refuse to do a PCR test or a rat test because I know those things are a lie. I've used the PCR test before in university. I know how the process works. And I had questions why people were using it as a diagnostic tool. And nobody could answer my question because they didn't understand what they were talking about. They tried to explain what PCR was to me, even though I understand what the process is, but they couldn't explain why they were trying to use it as a diagnostic tool at a threshold of like 45 or whatever crazy high number it is. In a scientific study, you would never run it at such a high threshold. 25 is like the highest threshold you'd use. That's what we used in the lab. So I tried to tell people, I tried to tell family, tried to tell friends when I could. Like, I didn't try to shove it down their throats. It was just that when it came up in conversation, I'd be like, oh, those things are really unreliable because they're not real tests. They don't show you if you're sick or anything. And people didn't listen, like, didn't care. Frustrating, extremely frustrating. When I see people who got injured, like Megyn Kelly, and I suspect a lot more other people, and we've talked about vaccine injuries before on this show, and I want to cover more vaccine injury stories because I think people need to talk about the elephant in the room. You know, like with Novak Djokovic winning, you know, he won the Australian Open too, and that was in front of Bill Gates. The irony, right? And then he wins the US Open and it's sponsored by, you know, Moderna, shot of the day. You know, like, you need to talk about the elephant in the room. Holy crap. Like, it's just sitting there. And, like, nobody wants to talk about it. And all these people are getting injured or having health problems afterwards. You know, I'm not God. I can't prove everything. I have my suspicions. People don't, like, healthy people, you know, say you're young or you're fit, you've never had a history of health issues. If you just develop, you know, health problems out of nowhere, I think that's super suspicious. Like, it's not really out of nowhere. Something would have caused it. Maybe a nutritional issue, or, you know, like, you were exposed to something, or you took something that wasn't great. Like, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. And I think it's extremely scientifically unethical to brush away people's injuries and not talk about the possibility. Because, you know, a real scientist would consider all the possibilities that, you know, could have caused those injuries or autoimmune problems, blah, blah, blah. Like, you wouldn't just brush it off and be like, no, it cannot have been the vaccine. Like, without even studying it, without even taking it in as a factor. I think that's very dishonest. And it's like propaganda, you know? That's how people respond when they've been brainwashed and someone suggests something that goes against their narrative. They just put up a wall and they can't talk about it. We need to break through it gently, and when God gives us the opportunity to talk about it within our own communities, I think we should. And I don't think, you know, vaccine injured people should just be ignored and left alone and abandoned to suffer. So I saw this really good clip from Dirty Sesh. So he's this New Zealand guy. I found him on Instagram during like the lockdowns and stuff in like 2020. And he was like one of the only, like, the realest people talking about what was going on, you know, giving his opinion, an honest opinion, and seeing lies for what they were. So I really liked his stuff. And I think he does rap, and I'm pretty sure he has a podcast now. But I haven't watched his stuff in a while. But I thought that his video, his reel was really good. So he talked about what the new New Zealand Prime Minister is saying. He's basically gaslighting people, the new Prime Minister. So previously, during the whole COVID stuff, they had Jacinda Ardern as their prime minister, and then now they've got a new prime minister, and changing of the guard. They're gonna gaslight you and make you try to forget what happened. So I've got the clip here.
Let me ask you something, New Zealand. Were you born yesterday? Do you have short-term memory loss? Do you have dementia? Are you scared Mummy and Daddy might tell me off if I speak up and say something? Or are you just blind and dumb at the same time? In case you don't know where I'm going with this, this is what the Prime Minister of New Zealand said yesterday.
In terms of the vaccine mandates, I acknowledge that it was a challenging time for people, but they ultimately made their own choices. There was no compulsory vaccination. People made their own choices.
They are now coming out and telling you that they did not force a mandate or make it compulsory to take the vaccine. They are now telling you that it was your choice, that it was your option. You chose to do this, not us. We didn't tell you to do it. We didn't say if you don't take the jab, you don't have a job. We never said that at all. No. Your choice, your decision. You made that up. You're a grown adult. Why the fuck are you blaming us? Isn't it scary that I just mentioned this in my last post? Literally my last post. Matter of fact, let's replay it for them right now. This was on my last post. I've seen these people now say, hey, no, we didn't try to force a mandate on you. It was an option. It was a choice. Pretty fucking sure take the jab or don't have a job isn't a choice. You're telling me what to do at that point. They are playing mind games on you. Do you not see what's happening? How many times do I have to repeat this? What the fuck is going on upstairs in your brain to not make it make sense of what the fuck they're trying to do? I don't get it. I think you should all just line up again and go take another one just for the fuck of it. But thankfully, there is something called the internet. So let's see, for all the dickheads out there that think that I'm just on some anti-vax rant just making shit up, let's go back a couple years and see what the fuckwit before him said about vaccine mandates. But before we do that, look at the lady in the background. Look at that face. Does that look like a warm welcoming to you? Does it look like a friendly invite?
Very happy lady.
Does that look like positive energy? No. It doesn't. It looks like an evil, scowly looking cow. That's what the fuck that looks like. And the fact that there are people lining up to go and vote for these idiots is just... it's mind-boggling. Seriously, I know it's fucking funny when I say this shit, but I'm just being honest. Like, when you look at this face, does it say, I'm here to save your life, New Zealand? Does it say, hi, welcome, kia ora, come into my house, I have nothing but coffee, tea, biscuits, whatever you need? Is that what it looks like? Because it sure doesn't fucking look that way to me. Now, let's take a little look at some evidence of them not telling us that it was compulsory or a mandate to take the jab. Oh, look at that. Another scowly looking cow. The pterodactyl. New Zealand mandates COVID-19 vaccines for health workers, teachers, as it continues to battle blah, blah, blah. Sounds like it's compulsory to me, pencil dick. New Zealand's government on Monday announced a vaccine mandate. Do you know what that means, Mr. Dickhead? It means it's compulsory. It means it's a fucking mandate. It means if you don't go and do what I tell you to do, you don't have any more money. You don't have a job. Oh, looks like you fucked up. Oh, and if that evidence isn't good enough, let's take a look at some more, shall we?
Cabinet has decided today that vaccinations will be mandated for everyone who works in any workplace where a vaccine certificate is required.
Yeah. You fucked up, mate. You fucked up big time. I don't know which dickhead behind you told you it was a good idea to go out there in front of the public and say, well, actually, we didn't force anybody to go and get a jab. It wasn't compulsory or a mandate. No. That was their own choice. They had an option.
This includes hospitality, events, gyms, and close proximity businesses such as hairdressers and barbers.
Yeah. Told ya. They are only saying this shit because they need the votes, bro. I don't know if you can hear me or not, everyone out there, but yeah, they're only saying this because they need votes. Stop being a fucking dumb cunt. Nah, bro, that's not what it is, G. Fuck, they're all good, bro. They just fucking... Shut up, bro. These guys, they don't care. I've already told you this. They're just here to put a fucking smile on your face for now. That's all it is. And do you know why I say things the way I say say it? I know it makes everybody out there uncomfortable. Oh my God, Sesh is just so vulgar. Shut up, bro. You're all vulgar behind the curtains, mate. I'm just showing you what real life is. What everybody out there is really thinking. Yep. They're all full of shit, bro.
Bro.
Didn't you see the Pfizer video that I put up a couple weeks back? They're not obligated to give a shit about what you put in your body. I know I keep saying this and people think it's a joke. Stranger danger. You don't know who these people are. We don't know who they are. They're all just a bunch of Barbie dolls on our TV screens trying to get the most likes. Please, 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 just stop staying in this 1970s fucking attitude of like, nah, they're here to save us, bro. Nah, man. National's gonna make a difference. Labor's gonna make a difference, man. Yeah, chicka wicka 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 wicka. Sometimes I just feel like I'm all alone in this fucking world and nobody understands because they're too scared to fucking stand up and say something. They're scared of looking like the guy who lost his job over in Lone Star. Bro, honest to God, if I had more funding behind me, maybe I should just go out there and tell everybody to go get jabbed. Hey, go get the jab. Yeah, I love Chris Hipkins. Maybe by now I would have enough funding to start an actual show, which is coming tomorrow. You should go and check it out. It's on my new YouTube. The link will be right here. But once I have enough funding, I'm going to make a program where I can interview people like that guy from Newland that lost his job at Lone Star. But unfortunately, we only sponsor fuckwits that make dickhead content. But yes, Mr. Prime Minister, I just called you out. I just showed you evidence that you guys did do what you said that you didn't. So yeah, you're a fuckwit. And I can't wait for my political episode to come out. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm starting a new show. Well, I've kind of already been like working on it. Point is, one of the first episodes starts tomorrow where we talk about sexualizing children and all the shit they're trying to push. But I can't wait for the episode I shot sharing my thoughts on New Zealand politics and politicians. It's gonna be fucking great, mate. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Please, if you enjoy what I do and what I'm saying, share this piece of content, retweet it. They use the media to try and twist the narrative and make people look crazy. But you know what they're never gonna do is do that to me. Do you know why? Because I spit the fucking truth. Vaccine, 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 you go.
I like Dirty Sash. Like, I get that some people might be put off by his cussing or whatever, but dude is really honest. And he says like some of the realest things, you know, holding these politicians accountable. Like, I think it's so important. And oh man, I really empathize how he was feeling, like where he felt so alone, because I feel like that. And it's like, it is very difficult to stand by your convictions, lose everything socially and, you know, work-wise for a lot of those people who did say no. It's very costly, and people don't apologize when they're wrong. No one, zero people have apologized. It's just been gaslighting, like that New Zealand Prime Minister. They just lie through their teeth at you and pretend like they didn't do some of the most heinous, unethical, inhumane things I'd ever seen in my life, and probably in modern history. Holy cow. The gall of these people to lie to the public like that. Be like, oh, there was no mandate. Oh, we didn't coerce you or threaten you and make you lose everything. We didn't get the media to be our propaganda arm and tell everybody to be scared, like, for their lives, that they were going to die from this disease, and then, you know, fearmonger them so much into taking an experimental drug. We didn't do any of that. Let's just pretend like nothing happened. La-di-da, you know, like, holy moly. I think honest and honorable people, like Dirty Sesh, for example, who's, you know, speak the truth even when it's difficult and it's not easy. I think it's very hard for people like us to wrap our minds around the evil intentions of these people, that they're willing to try to distort and lie about reality so hard just to either make themselves feel better, to profit from other people, to not be held accountable, you know, like, I think these people, I mean, I can complain about them all day, but what's the point, right? I want to be able to make a difference by talking about it so that more people are aware you're being gaslit and manipulated, okay? they're lying to you. They've been lying to you for years. Stop believing them and stop trusting them. Why should you blindly believe some random ass person on the TV telling you to inject something in your arm that you have no idea what is in it? Why? Oh, because the government told me. Oh, because the TV guy told me. Like, they're not your family. They're not your friends. They have no, like, they don't have a good track record, especially if you study history. If some random person were to tell you, hey kid, like, want to take some drugs and put it in your arm, would you trust them? Would you listen to them? I don't think so. And not only that, because they're not your family or your friends, if you get injured or something bad happens to you when you take their advice, they have no responsibility for you. They're not going to take care of you when you're sick. They're not going to pay for your hospital bills. You can't even get compensation for a lot of these vaccine injured people because the government waived liability for these vaccine products for the pharmaceutical companies. It was in the news in 2020 and 2021. I tried to tell people about that before they went to get vaccinated. They were like, oh, and then they still went and got vaccinated. So you're informed that these people don't have to, you can't sue them if you get injured. And even if you, for example, join that civil case, that civil lawsuit case, class action, sorry, that I mentioned in a previous live stream, even if you join that, right, who pays for it in the end, for that compensation, for those lawsuit costs, etc. If that civil action wins, they say, oh, it's the government. It's the taxpayer. The government uses your taxpayer money to pay for that. They don't actually pay for being wrong. They don't pay the cost for being wrong, for deceiving you and tricking you and coercing you, and then you getting injured as a result. They don't pay for that. It doesn't come out of their pockets or paychecks. It comes from you, the taxpayer, you pleb. Let's trick you into taking a product, right? And then you have to pay for that injury. What a disgrace. So I have no respect for people like, that New Zealand Prime Minister, the previous one, Jacinda Ardern either. They're super corrupt and they don't pay a price for being wrong. Like, I think the public should be pretty, it would be understandable for them to feel pretty angry towards them because of what they did. And I think they shouldn't feel comfortable, saying stuff like that because it's such a lie. But I know that, yes, if I ever saw them, I'd probably want to yell at them, or I would yell at them because of what they did was so wrong. And it was such a grave injustice to so many people. You destroyed so many people's lives. But I also know that God will hold them accountable. They have to be accountable to God for every word that they said, for every deed that they did on Judgment Day. And God's wrath is on their heads, and they keep heaping more wrath onto their head. So I think when Judgment Day comes, these people are gonna get freaking wrecked, and I wouldn't want to be them. You might have an easier life right now, but what's coming as a result of what you've done is, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Let's just say that.